Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar about buying in Boise. I'm Michael Minson. I'm your host, and with me is Michelle Bailey, our local celebrity realtor in Boise. Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this, Michael. This is pretty cool. Michelle Bailey. I am from Boise, Idaho, and service the entire area. I have been a real estate agent since 2006, a broker since 2009, and I am originally from the Bay Area myself when I made the move here in 2005.
Oh, I didn't know you're from the Bay Area. What part?
I went to high school actually in Pinole Valley and went to college at St. Mary's over in Moraga.
Oh, right on. I opened a St. Mary's bookstore. It was one of my first gigs here in with Barnes & Noble when I moved here in 25 years ago.
I was like, how long ago was that?
Yeah. So this is a webinar about Boise. I'm Michael Minson. I'm the owner of the Level Up Group. We're a Bay Area real estate team powered by Place here with Keller Williams. And one of the things that has always fascinated me in this industry is how the hottest market in the United States can move around and what's causing that, what's driving that. And as a real estate investor myself, is there an opportunity for me to invest in these hot markets? And I just thought Michelle and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it'd be really great to bring some of that knowledge to the folks that in my world, my past clients and future clients and people that get my newsletter somehow. So Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Me too, thank you.
So why don't we start off with why are people moving to Boise? Why is it the hottest market in the United States for the past 2 years in a row?
Yeah, I mean, my obvious answer is why not? It's so beautiful and it's 20 degrees. But really, people are moving to Boise because it is affordable, especially in comparison to your guys' market. Within a good 45 minutes tops, you can camp, fish, go hiking, hunting if you're into that. Skiing, whether it's snow or water sports. We even have our own wine region. So we have lots of outdoor activities within a really small proximity to the area. And, you know, most of the areas moving into Boise, we're really a day drive away, tops. So it makes it really easy when people are moving to another area that they can still go visit their family fairly easy.
That's great. I didn't realize it had a wine region. That was aha for me.
It's not Napa Valley by any means, but it's pretty good.
Everybody, if you've got a question as we're going along here, hey Robert, good to see you. Please post it in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. So you mentioned the weather. What's the typical summer there, and what's the typical winter like? Are there 4 seasons?
We actually do have 4 seasons. The length of those seasons obviously depend each year. We had a snowmageddon, what we called a few years ago, where we had several, gosh, I don't even know how many inches we had. We had a few feet actually, to the point that it kind of closed some areas down. Generally in the winter time, my ongoing joke for people moving into the area, my story is when I first moved and my first house had a 3-car garage. So I took the kids to school, it snowed, came home, shoveled half the driveway, got tired, went back into the house, right? Came back out about an hour or 2 later and the rest of it had melted. So that is snow in the Boise area. You don't need to shovel it, just wait. It'll probably melt the same day. Just make sure it's done before you go to bed. And then, you know, we have great spring and fall. You actually get to see the leaves changing colors, not as much as obviously on the East Coast, but it's still pretty beautiful. We have hot summers. We are the desert. So our summers from really, I would say the warm weather starts in May and then goes through October. You know, I think from what I remember from the Bay Area, like Halloween was always a hit or miss, whether it was going to be freezing cold or still in short sleeves. Same here. So we do have all those seasons, and really the hottest months are July and August.
So 4 seasons, that's news for us. We kind of have one season here, foggy So that must be a big change. What were you say some of the other pros and cons of living in Boise?
Yeah, well, you know, what's funny is even though it was 20 degrees, as I mentioned this morning, my office was so bright from the sun that I actually had to close everything down. So you think it's really sunny and it's going to be warm, and then you step outside and you freeze. You know, some of the pros I'll say about Boise is it's very livable. People here are very friendly. If you are broken down on the road, or if you are having problems, people in the area are the first to just jump in and see how they can help you. We have very low crime. That's been changing over the past couple of years, as you can imagine, as we have an influx of out-of-staters coming in here and just, you know, living life a little bit differently. We also have a slower pace of life. One of the things I remember when I first moved here, my background is law enforcement. And so I remember talking to my now ex-husband, who was a police officer in the Bay Area. And the tone in his voice was there's so much stress that I had to get off the phone because we just, you know, just chill. You just chill and kind of go about your day. So that's nice. We are required to have a balanced budget. And so we actually do balance a budget. And this year, actually, we are getting a refund because there's such a surplus in taxes, which is nice.
Wow.
Some of the cons is our infrastructure. It hasn't caught up. And it hasn't caught up the 16 years that I've lived here. So I don't know if it ever will catch up, but we do have a season called, you know, road construction. And unfortunately, unlike California, they don't work on things at night when people are sleeping. They do it in the middle of the day. So that definitely is frustrating.
About internet, I think most folks that from the Bay Area would be very concerned about, more concerned about the internet than roads in many cases.
Yeah, I would say in the bigger cities, especially Boise, and we call this area the Treasure Valley, you're going to be fine with internet.
Yeah. Okay,
You know, we're not that backwards. We've got high speed, 5G and all that stuff.
great.
Yeah. Traffic here is a little different. We do have a lot of traffic, but it's more, you know, road traffic, like side road traffic, I guess, or the main roads. We don't have a lot of highways. Like you guys have a lot of efficiency, I guess, with highways, right? Being able to get places fairly fast. And in our area, they're just main roads. So to go 20 miles from one part of town to the other, it may take you a little bit longer than if we had an actual highway.
Awesome. Great. Well, let's start talking about some nuts and bolts. Jobs bring the real estate market with them. And so without jobs, without wage growth, without employment, there's no real estate market. So kind of talk to us about who are the key employers in Boise, and is tech as big a deal there as it is, say, in other hot markets?
Yeah, great question. Our top employers are medical, so St. Al's, St. Luke's. We have a lot of growth in the medical field. Micron, which is, you know, tech. Albertsons, Walmart. Albertsons has their headquarters here. Simplot, food technology. Hewlett Packard has a facility out here. And I see Scott's question about Meta. It's just still odd to me. Yes, they did announce a big facility out in Kuna. And yeah, it'll be interesting because that will bring jobs, that will bring people moving out here. Kuna is still a small town, so that's definitely going to be a good opportunity for growth.
And Kuna is a suburb, right? Boise, is that correct?
Yeah, it's a suburb, and a lot of people like to call it Kuna. My joke is it's not tuna, it's Kuna.
Are there other tech companies that have made a mark in, I think Amazon is there, correct?
Yeah, we do have Amazon, a distribution center here as well. We have a couple really large call centers. We have Paylocity. Most tech that I'm even aware of are going to be smaller firms that are maybe moving out here with 10 or 15 people, that they can still actually work in the Bay Area or telecommute. When I lived in the Bay Area, when I actually lived in Vacaville, my second mom lived in Eagle, Idaho, which is also a suburb of Boise. And so she worked at Children's Hospital in Alameda, and she would commute back and forth. So that's fairly common as well.
So specifically about the real estate market in Boise, what do you attribute the massive increase in valuations to over the past few years? I think 38% from 2020 to 2021. That's the fastest and most significant growth of any city in the country. And I think you held that position for 2 years, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah.
What's causing that, and is it sustainable?
Definitely not sustainable at those prices. It's kind of, it is kind of insane. But like with anything, it's supply and demand. And so, before the Great Recession, 15-ish years ago, there was a lot of speculation. At this point, it has been supply and demand. A lot of people moving into our area. We have about, it was 19% that have moved within the state of Idaho to the Boise area, and 23% from California, actually. And then the next runner-up drops down to Washington at 9%. So people move here, I'm just going to do a little blip and then we're going to ignore it, but for the politics, they want a safe place to raise their family. They can sell their properties in those states, come here, pay cash for a really nice home, and be able to raise their kids and still enjoy life without the stress of working, 12 to 15 hours a day.
So let's get specific here. If I had $500,000, I had 25% down, so $125,000 cash, and I wanted to buy, say, a $500,000 place in Boise, what would that get me? And what kind of rents could I expect for that?
Yeah, so Boise is going to be the most expensive, and then as you go outward and west, you're going to find things to be a little bit more reasonable. So I actually pulled a few listings, and I went anywhere from, I just pulled from $499 to $500 in our two major counties right here to get an idea. And it went from a condo in downtown Boise, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, to an acre manufactured home in the outskirts. So that's the significant difference in what you can get out here.
So
and then rents, of course.
Anything.
Well, kind of. I mean, I will say people that I talk with initially that are thinking of moving out here, and they have the dream of the, wraparound porch with maybe Yellowstone in Idaho. The reality is for $500,000, you're not going to get that home on property. It's going to cost you a little bit more, depending on how far out you want, the more reasonable that you're going to find that price.
So just going in and wanting, a standard, a good 3-2 that I could rent out in a good area that's got, something to nearby. It's not so far out in the sticks. Maybe it's not in the middle of the city. A nice neighborhoody home that'll give me steady income. What would you advise your clients to budget for that tradition, the typical 3-2 median home?
If you're just going to look at a general number, $2,000 a month is going to be general. Now, I looked at a
for rent, right?
For rent, yeah, for rent. Thank you. I looked at a duplex near the college, BSU, Boise State University, just this week, listed at $515. It needs work. Each side would probably rent. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, about 1,000 square feet. So each side would probably rent for $1,600. So you're not gonna, you'll have like a little bit of cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, maybe a good dinner once a month. But the appreciation that you'll get on it over time, if you were, to hang out, is where you're going to see that. Now, on the same token, If I drove 25 minutes west and went to Caldwell, then I could get a 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single level. And they would pay about $2,000 to $2,300 a month.
What do you think that property would cost?
The one I looked at last night actually was $415 and ended up going under contract for $425.
Yeah, well, that would cash flow a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty close because the taxes go up when it's non-owner occupied.
Oh, really? That's interesting. You want to talk about that a little bit? I didn't know that.
No. Yeah, so in Idaho, we have a homeowner's exemption. So when you're in the home as your primary residence, you can exempt the first $125,000 in value. So if you have a home valued at $500,000, then you're paying taxes on $375,000.
Okay.
So if it's an investment property, you're paying property taxes on the $500,000.
I see. You're not entitled to that exemption. Interesting.
Correct. Yeah.
What do you advise clients is the baseline property tax for their calculations?
Oh gosh. I mean, really, I'm trying to think levy rate what they end up equaling out to, because the taxing districts vary so greatly between Ada County and Canyon County. So prices in Ada County are higher, but the taxes are lower, right? And then prices in Canyon County, which is the neighboring county, those taxes are higher, prices tend to be lower. So really what I say if you're looking at straight investment property, I generally will calculate $300 a month for property taxes.
Okay. As an investor, what do you typically see for cap rates? So the rate of return on an investment property. In the Bay Area, we're lucky if we get 3.5%. You've just crushed it if you get 4%. Oftentimes you're in the 2 to 3%, pretty common, which is one of the reasons so many people are investing outside of not just San Francisco Bay Area, but also California, because cap rates are pretty difficult to get excited about. What should an investor think about cap rates in Boise?
Yeah, I mean, if you can get 5%, you're doing good right now. That's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
It's not very common, but 5% would be a good thing.
Yeah, so I think I've talked to some colleagues in like Cleveland or places like that where you can get 10% cap rate, but you don't have the appreciation, right? So 5% would be double what you get in the Bay Area, which that's a good start. Plus, then you have the appreciation on top of that. That could be compelling with the right property.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about landlord environment. Everybody in the Bay Area knows about rent control, and depending on what side of the fence you're on, you either love it or you hate it. Is there such a thing called rent control in Boise? And then on top of that, what's the Airbnb environment like? Is that off the table, or are they still Airbnb friendly, short-term rental?
It's a great question. We're pretty landlord tenant friendly, I guess. Airbnbs are still, they're under the spotlight a little bit in Boise City, Boise proper. And the city has tried a few times to put regulation on them or make them register or do something to kind of control that. However, it's been defeated every time. As a realtor involved in, we call it RPAC, the Realtor Political Action Committee, that's something that we try to squash every time. And then the first part of your question, which just went out of my head.
Rent control and eviction.
Yeah, we don't have any rent control at all. That would not go over well right here. Now, it's been mentioned a couple times because rents have gotten a little ridiculous for our area. But I don't see that happening. People are too freaked out about seeing what's happened in Oregon or Washington. Or actually Oregon, yeah.
Scott, good to see you both. Siri, good to see you. Judith, if you guys have any questions, please post it in chat. Michelle, without getting into too much politics, how red is the red state? And will a Bleeding Heart Bay Area liberal be eaten alive there?
Not eaten alive, maybe nibbled.
Good ask.
Yeah. Yeah, we're pretty conservative. We're absolutely conservative. And Boise itself is probably the most liberal area in the state, I would say. And we do have a Democrat as mayor, and they tried to recall her. So that's how things go in Idaho.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not the Bay Area.
It's not the Bay Area. Now I'll tell you, no, actually, yeah, I'm like, should I? My son is gay and he's 20 and he cannot wait to get out of Idaho. So I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
And is it Boise or Boise? What is the definitive answer here?
It's Boise. I see you. We're not in a zoo, so just remember, no zoo, no with a Z.
Great. And you are in Boise proper, correct?
My office is actually in Meridian, which is right next door. But we just kind of blend in together. I'll tell you, we also have a NAMPA, NAMPA, and it's the exact opposite of Napa. So much different price point and no wine region. So yeah.
Great. And then are you taking on new clients, Michelle?
We're always taking on new clients and love guiding people and helping them make the best decisions and, building wealth and whatever that transition looks like. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if anybody has any questions, please post in the chat. I'm not hearing a whole lot, so we might move here to wrap up. Michelle, thank you so much. I've learned so much by having this conversation both today and our pre-conversation a week ago. So thank you so much. I look forward to continuing to send you referrals and clients that are looking to invest or move to Boise or surrounding areas. I hope you'll do the same.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks to everyone who joined us.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.